Hello, dear listeners. Just a couple heads up on this episode. While I had a Zeusing good time editing a couple swear words, made it through the final edit just because they didn't seem too harsh. The other heads up is the fact that Lannie's subject matter for her poetry book, Good Morning to Everyone Except Men Who Named Their Dog Zeus, is around sexual assault. So we begin to discuss that topic around the 32-minute mark. Now enjoy the show.
No, it's fine. No. I don't think anybody gets it right.
Annie with an L.
Annie with
oh, and then Stabile.
Or if you want it, you can go Stabile.
Stabile. Rhyme or free, it doesn't matter to me. It's my bad poetry. Good day, and welcome to My Bad Poetry, a podcast that shares bad poetry with the world and asks, but is it good? I'm Aaron, and along with Dave, we do deep dives that no one has asked for yet. No one has complained yet. In fact, today we are joined with another willing participant in this project. We originally asked Lannie Stabile on the show back in May, but decided to look instead at a date in July because we thought she may be too busy. And indeed she was. Since then, she has become a mother of an adorable daughter, co-started a newsletter, The New Sletters, published her debut novel, hosted multiple readings, and continued to create at a fantastic, frantic pace. Lannie, thank you for having the time to come on the show.
Thank you for having me. I do want to interject and just really quickly say I did not publish a novel. It's a collection of short stories.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yes.
I don't want to lie to the people.
So what you're saying is you published multiple novels.
Multiple tiny novels.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
For mice. Or I should say hamsters, for hamsters.
Okay. Well, yeah, because you have a hamster on the front of the cover. Yes, Something Dead and Everything is the title.
I love that title so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, is there anything that I missed that you might want to say for those who are listening in?
No, I think you covered it very well. The word frantic was a perfect adjective for what my life feels like.
Well, that baby phase is no joke. So, yeah.
Well, and I've got two at home, and like I said before, our 10-week-old is wonderful, and our 3-year-old is also living here.
Yeah, they say terrible twos, but seriously, the threes have
Teenager.
been. Yes,
yep.
It is real. So you have that to look forward to. Well, to bring us into the realm of poetry, Dave, do you have a frantically put together poem?
I worked really hard on this, Aaron. And by that, I mean, I worked on it for about 5 minutes and then asked my wife to read it. And she said, that's technically all right enough for you.
It'll do.
Lots of caveats. Okay. Petals dance in the gentle breeze. Bees arrive, seeking with ease. Clover, dandelion, wildflower bloom. Neighbors work and spray, spell its doom. I wish I was principled rather than lazy. Outside it's just too hot and hazy. I want to help the local wildlife, but without causing me any minuscule strife.
That's lovely.
Right? I want to help the bees, but also I'm just kind of lazy and I don't want to mow my lawn.
Actually, not mowing your lawn is supposed to be good for this.
Exactly.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get so mad when I think about how I have to mow my lawn for society.
Right.
I don't want to.
The neighborhood that we just moved into a couple months ago has no mow Mays.
Yeah.
Where you can put a sign up that basically says, I am purposefully letting this thing go.
Yeah, I just heard about that. I don't know if you guys saw, but I had this tweet, I guess it went like quote unquote viral, about how nobody showed up for my library reading.
Yeah, I did see that.
And so I had this lovely chat with the librarian, and one of the things that we talked about was no mo maze. Somehow we got on that topic, and I was like, I've never heard of that. That's amazing. I wish that my neighborhood did it.
Yeah. So there you go, Dave. You are not lazy. You are, in fact, a saint.
Oh yeah, exactly. I do it only on a principled stance. Or yeah, I'm lazy and it works out that it's good for the environment.
Oh man. Well, you have that to follow up. So
Tough act to follow, right?
Right.
Oh gosh.
So way back when you volunteered for this show, you had a story about
Oh no.
palm licking and handshaking. And so if your poems are anything like that, I think we're in for something special today.
I just gotta say that when that moment happened, when I had just finished bowling a really great game, and for some reason licked my hands after that ball was in my hands and put it in my hair, like, and the guy came up and was like, "Oh, I just want to congratulate you for your good game," and put his palm out. I was like, and I had no idea what to say, so I was like, I just licked my hands, dude. Why did I do that? I don't know. It's disgusting.
That's just the definition of like the socially awkward moment of like,
Yes.
I want to do the right thing, but I can't shake your hand because that's not the right thing, but I have to shake your hand because that's the right thing, but I can't.
I feel like if I hadn't been neurodivergent, that I probably would have just shook his hand and be like, "Thanks, dude." But I was like way too honest and confused.
I'm getting sympathy anxiety for you.
So you've brought with us 3 gems to share with the world. And we typically have, with our guests, have done 2 of them. So I'm going to vote for the list.
Agreed.
To start us off.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So here's some bad poetry.
Yes.
Brought to you from, I don't know, 19-year-old Lannie, I
Perfect.
think, around there. The list. I want to forget your kiss and everything on this goddamn list. Your smile, your eyes, your deception, your lies, the memories we'd made, the scars that slowly fade. Every laugh, every tune, every tear, every wound, the breathlessness you caused, the clueless pawn I was, my irrepressible love for you, my willingness to be fooled, the inside jokes, the heart you broke, our secrets, our dreams, our spilling seams, the first day, the first hello, the last dagger in my soul. I want to forget all of this, and I want to forget that you exist. Damn, 19-year-old Lannie.
Right?
That's cold.
Lord.
So harsh.
Oh, man.
Are you speechless?
Where to begin?
Oh.
Dave, you got rhyming poetry.
Rhyming poetry. Yes, thank you. I mean, my rhymes are usually very slanted and not what I would consider rhymes, but this is beautiful. Right? This is Shakespeare.
I do find it interesting that like the rhymes kind of fade in and out. You have some very hard rhymes, and then you have like tune and wound. That's a close one. It's like you felt like rhyming, but not all the way.
You don't have to.
You can't control a broken heart.
Okay, that's the tagline on the end, right? You can't control a broken heart.
So one thing that this immediately made me think of is 10 Things I Hate About You but without the twist at the end that it's like love. It's like just truly just all the things.
Yeah, you just suck. Like,
Yes.
I know you could be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? Honestly, Alice and Janie, like as an adult, when you're in your teens and you're watching the show, you're like, Heath Ledger, oh my God. And then, but still there's a little bit of, I miss you, Heath. But
Yeah.
as an adult, like you look back and you see Alice and Janie and what a seeing rock star she was.
I know. Oh man. Yeah, but that's immediately what I thought of.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, would that have been around that time?
I think that was like 2001.
1999. Wow, it's that
Wow.
old?
Older than I thought.
Jeez.
In 1999, I was much younger than this poem, so that the timing doesn't work out.
Doesn't work out. Okay. Yeah.
No.
Do you want to give us any context to this? Are you willing to share? Who broke your heart?
Oh,
Who broke
gosh.
my heart? Well, I don't think they'll ever listen to this podcast, so I guess that's fine.
Well, we've only got 3 people who listen, so yeah.
I had a best friend, and we had a very weird relationship growing up. I say growing up, but I met her when I was 17. So we had this weird push-pull relationship, and looking back at it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty gay, actually. But at the time, you don't know. You're just like, why am I feeling these things? I don't understand what's going on, and I just, she's just Susie's best friend, and it's not like it has nothing to do with queer identity at all, right? What you think, anyway. So yeah, there's this best friend that just kept hurting me, and I didn't really know how, what I was feeling, and so I just wrote it out. There's one, and I thought about reading it, but it was 2 pages long, and I was like, I don't want, it's too long. And it was about burying her, or burying the friendship, really.
Oh, wow.
And it's this one's kind of harsh, but that one was really hard.
Just
So,
a little,
yeah.
little harsh.
Well, yeah. There's layers.
There are layers
of dirt. Oh man.
Nice.
I'm so upset because now you're finishing each other's sentences.
Yeah, Dave, I think this was secretly an audition to find a new co-host.
Oh, okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough. I hope you're very happy together. Here's my list about why your show won't work.
I have a lot of energy, but I don't know if I could take on a podcast.
I'm just noticing something here. You doubled up. Did you do that on purpose? You had to have. Your, the, every, the, my, the, r. Oh.
Yep. And then the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines.
Yeah, look at you. You had a lot of structure for.
I was sneaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I have a degree in creative writing, but I never had poetry classes. They were like theater classes or fiction classes, things like that. So I never really learned poetry. Everything that I know, I've learned by myself, from reading, from writing, from liking something and trying it. And so I think it's interesting that these things that are out there already kind of came to me organically. So I think about that all the time, especially when I talk to people like Todd Dillard and Jared Beloff, and they've got the words for it, like the college words, and they're like, oh, that you're doing this, and I'm like, I don't know, I just kind of felt like doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you're really smart. But no, I've just always kind of let my gut rule my writing, I guess.
That's impressive because my background in poetry is AP English from high school. And that's about as far as I go in understanding poetry. So like I understand concepts, but I don't know how to do it. So having someone who kind of has that more innate ability, that's pretty impressive, I'll say.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I understand concepts. I know how to do it, but I don't know what to call it.
Right. Yeah, finding the words. This isn't my background as well. I just have a high school journal full of truly awful poems, and this podcast has just brought so many new things to light as we've dug in and as we've brought on guests and stuff. So I've learned so much more about poetry in this last year than probably ever. So
Yeah, we still don't know much.
No,
but
not at all.
we've learned a lot because there was not a lot to revisit.
Yes. We're starting from scratch, really. Like,
Yeah.
I learned the term chapbook within the last, 5 months. Dave,
Yes.
you look confused, Dave.
Yeah, I know, of course. But for our listeners out there, they might not know. Unlike all of us who definitely do, who understand the word you said, which I totally remember.
It is a short collection of work, like probably about, I'd say 30 pages, 20, 30 pages, somewhere around there. I love chapbooks. They're really easy to get through. There is, I think it's August. Yes, August. There's a whole month dedicated to reading chapbooks. And that was created by Nicole Seeley. That challenge was created. I think it's called the Seeley Challenge.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I totally knew about that.
Yeah, you did. And mini chaps.
Chapstick.
Micro chaps, chubby chaps. I don't know if they coined that term, but the first time I ever heard the term chubby chap was from Jason B. Crawford. And they're always creating terms and stuff. So I would believe it if they told me, yep, I made that up.
I don't see that as a flattering term. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say I published a chubby chap. But
a thick boy? I don't know.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
I do have a question back to the poem. I have no clue what this means. Can you interpret for us, are spilling seams?
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of bursting, right? The seams bursting, spilling out. So there's this pressure that's been created and it's getting more and more, and finally it cannot be contained. And it really, I think in this poem context, and again, I haven't visited this poem in 16 years, but I think if I can bring myself back to that place, that it just means that not being able to contain these feelings anymore. Like, I'm upset. I can't pretend like there's nothing wrong. Our friendship is bursting at the seams, and not a good way, because I think usually that's interpreted in a good way. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I actually kind of like that like you said, bursting at the seams, it makes you feel like joy. I mean, that's what it's associated with, but you
exactly.
You kind of twisted it with spilling seams. It does take on a different connotation. So
yeah, like when you spill things, you're like, oh crap, my
yeah.
milk. Or, oh, there's toxic goo, and now there are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Although that's a cool thing,
right?
Yeah.
Plus side.
Oh no, plus size Ninja Turtles. Yep.
Big boy.
Back to thick boys. So Aaron already said he went to 10 Things I Hate About You, and I will always go to pop punk and to My Chemical Romance, because that's what I was hearing in this. Did you ever do pop punk, Yellow Card or?
Around this time, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I am not a fan of MCR, But yes, around this time I was listening to like Secondhand Serenade and Dashboard
Okay.
Confessionals and Sugar Cult. Oh, I loved Sugar
Oh
Cult.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like yes. So I liked the ones that were a little more whiny, I guess.
Okay.
Not that MCR isn't whiny, like think about the Black Parade. Yeah, so absolutely. I don't know how much it influenced this poem, but I was definitely like having that in the background for sure. I went to Warped Tour a
Yeah,
couple
you
of
did.
times. I used to go to I forget what they call it, but there was like a Christmas bash, like 89X stole Christmas, something like that. And obviously that's a local thing,
Sure.
but they would bring all these punk bands to a big venue in Detroit, and I went to that a couple of different times, and it was a lot of fun. That's when I decided I didn't like Coheed and Cambria
No.
because they were assholes. But yes,
I'm definitely getting the Dashboard Confessional
Yeah.
vibe off of this.
also Plain White Tees
Yeah.
and Ludo.
Yes.
Oh, you know Ludo?
Oh my gosh.
We were just talking about this like
Broken
4
Bride
episodes
is one
ago.
of my favorite
EPs, yeah.
oh my gosh, it's so good. I was very obsessed with Ludo for, I'm gonna say, about 6 months. It was
Only
like
6 months?
well, it was like the only thing I listened to for 6 months, and then I'm like, maybe I should try and be like happy for a minute.
They have some happy songs, not Broken Bride, obviously.
Not Broken Bride. I mean,
his
like the
wife
joyous
died,
songs
but
like Lake Pontchartrain, like
I love Lake
driving down and dying, and
Or Go Get Her, Greg.
Go Get Her, Greg. Ah.
Okay, so I've always said Ludo is my favorite band, but then I realized that Plain White Tees is my favorite band because I definitely sing them more. But Ludo is like, really close second.
I love Ludo.
I missed the Ludo train. You brought him up a couple podcasts ago. One of my poems reminded you of Ludo, and I have nothing. That's a blind spot for me.
I'm gonna send you some songs.
Please do. Link. Send all the links.
Absolutely.
But maybe we should move to a second poem.
Sure.
And what comes to light, Dave?
We're doing Adam's Apple,
Yeah,
right?
we are.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
What a shame, because the third one has a great backstory.
You can't do that to me.
Well,
But Adam's Apple it is.
Okay, I agree.
We're just gonna have to bring you on again for that third one. We'll keep the title in suspense for your next appearance.
My favorite thing about Adam's Apple is the byline and how you guys were like, "Who is this person?" Leanne Baumder. Who is that?
Yeah.
I was like,
A little confusing.
"Oh, that's me."
Yeah. No, we were definitely like, oh, do you have a pen name now? And then I was like, oh no, for sure. Like, what was I thinking? This is before you were married, and like
We're very smart people.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because if I said my name was Bob, right? Like people would more than likely know that it's short for Robert, but Lannie gets them every time. They're like, "Is this a nickname? What is Lannie? I've never heard this name." I was like, "It's short for Leanne." Like,
well, people get confused when they find out that my real name is Terrence, but I go by Dave.
Dave, is that true?
No, of course not. No.
I mean, because Dave could be your middle name, I guess. Like Terrence David.
Ooh, then I'm fancy.
It does sound fancy.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Adam's Apple. Let's hear it.
By Leanne Baumder. I can't say when I first saw him. It was as if we were of the same flesh, or I may have imagined it all. Perhaps his soul was ancient and dead before I touched it. I can't say when I first saw him. It's possible he was lush and green while my tongue was freshly forked. Or I may have imagined it all. There's a chance we danced naked behind the trees in God's Eden. I can't say when I first saw him. Maybe that kiss was actually poison, my red, delicious apple, or I may have imagined it all. In the beginning, I felt shame, but days slithered into nights. I can't say when I first saw him. I may have imagined it all.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it.
Of course you do, Dave.
Yeah.
It's biblical imagery.
Yeah, it works.
But, this is... I have no clue what's going on in this poem.
Context clues, Aaron. Context clues.
Yeah, okay, so it's the snake's perspective, right?
Right?
Okay. So it's the tempter here. Now, yeah, you have to give us some background for this.
I wish I could remember it. I think I was just kind of playing with the imagery. You know how like most poets they write a Greek mythology poem, or they write a biblical poem. So I was just kind of stretching my legs here and saying, well, what if I wrote a biblical poem and I wrote it from the serpent's perspective? Mm-hmm. And this in this moment, it's kind of like that that temptation mm-hmm. in the Garden of Eden, but it goes a step further, and it's not just this apple, it's actually sin itself. That would be my best guess as to what I was thinking at that time.
Yeah.
I like it. That's all I got.
This is your Paradise Lost.
Milton can do it. You can do it too.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I always say.
Yeah.
It's a common quote. Yeah.
So I'm very curious as to, this one's typed. We're looking at a typed version. It looks very official. Did this get was this a writing assignment? Did this get published in something, or?
It was published through Cellar Roots, which was the magazine, the literary magazine through Eastern Michigan University, where I went to school. I don't know if this was my first published poem through there. I had a handful, but I can tell you that, this was one of the first. And there was a book launch too that I got to go to, and I got to read the poems out loud, and so I got a little bit of that, a little bit of open mic feel.
Cool. So in the moment, you're sharing this as bad poetry. In the moment, did you feel like that rock star with the open mic?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, it's not bad. It's not a great poem, but it's certainly not like awful, right?
No, there's some interesting stuff going on here.
To be honest with you, I wanted to bring to the table one of my first poems ever, which was called 1-800-DOG-BITE, or I'm sorry, Long Live the King, which gave legs to a couple of other ones called 1-800-DOG-BITE and The Russian Spy. Those were like the first 3 poems that I'd ever written. And I really wanted to bring that to the table, but I couldn't find them.
Oh no.
Sad day.
Those were not good. Over 12-year-old Lannie.
With titles like that, they're not good.
1-800-DOG-BITE.
I like it.
Your title game is on point, I have to say. Even this, the play on words with Adam's apple. I think it's fascinating that like you said, all poets kind of feel like they have to dip their toes into Greek mythology and biblical imagery. And for what you consider kind of a mediocre poem, you took a really nice angle.
Thank you.
It definitely makes you think. It almost feels like the snake had feelings for Adam, or was like in relationship. Like they were on good terms, and then things went sour, and the snake is trying to figure out, like, was that my fault? What happened here? I mean, like, just reading into it a bit, it's really interesting. Like there's almost regret.
I love hearing my work through other people's eyes. I do. It's got to be one of the best things. Like when you're in workshop and there's 10 people talking about your piece and they're like, oh, I love how you made his shirt red because it stands for like anger and lust, and I'm like, I just made a shirt red, like,
Right.
I just love those like unintentional things that people pick up on. It doesn't mean that it isn't red for the lust and for the anger, but it just happened naturally.
Yeah.
Right.
This kind of brings up a debate that Dave and I had a long time ago on the show of writer's intent and poetic interpretation. I don't know. Dave, can you say this better?
So Aaron can't find words. It's not like he talks for a living.
Nope.
No, but I kind of have come to the opinion that the author's original intent does not matter, because, to be fair, we had this argument before we talked to poets.
Yeah, has your opinion changed?
My opinion has changed slightly because I learn a lot more from people who are smarter than me. But my exposure to poetry has always been to, again, like AP English stuff. So this is old dead white guys. And so I didn't really care about their opinion, but more what I could glean from it, what I could interpret from. And I think that might have come out of me just having a shallow like pool to pull from different poets. And now that I've actually been able to pull from, people of color or from queer authors, like there's a lot more to learn. So I'm coming around on it, but where do you see the purpose of authorial intent?
Well, I definitely think that it matters. However, I would lean toward the interpretation by readers being more important, because if you wanted to write a piece for yourself, you would, and you wouldn't publish it. Like, I mean, I wouldn't anyway.
Right.
But by publishing it, by sending it out to the world, that means that you are ready for that piece to be interpreted. And I think that it's crazy to think that it will always be interpreted the way that you intended it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh. Yeah.
Like, just think about tweeting, right? Like you send out a tweet and you've got 30 people telling you that you messed up here because you didn't think about their personal experience, right? Like,
Right.
So just know that people are going to see it the way that they're going to see it.
Yeah. So we talked about how you dabbled with the biblical imagery, as all poets do, but then you dove headfirst into the Greek myths with your book, Good Morning to Everyone Except Men Who Name Their Dog Zeus.
Men Who Name Their Dog Zeus, yeah.
Yes, and it was a rough read for me. I mean, it took me, I think, 3 big sittings, because this is not a happy subject, to say the least. But do you want to talk at all about your book? Or?
Sure. And it's certainly not meant to be an easy read. And I appreciate that you did get through it, because it's important that men read it too, to see that perspective. So Good Morning to Everyone Except Men Who Name Their Dog Zeus, what I like to say, challenges sexual assault, Greek mythology, and men who are obsessed with powerful men, such as Zeus, because it doesn't really make sense to me for a man to name their dog after a serial rapist. So that's kind of where it came from. Like, I had dated a couple of guys who named their dog Zeus, and I was like, well, what the hell? Like, do you know who Zeus is? And I realized that if they don't know that portion, then they are choosing not to know that portion of Zeus. They're like just kind of glossing over it, and they are focusing on the power that god had, as the god of sky, right? And um, and I think that that is a travesty, and I think that that's selfish to view it that way, because there are people who have been assaulted, that have been raped, and hearing that you're deciding to like kind of excuse these actions just because you get off on the power. Um, yeah, it's just it's not cool. So this book was mostly written for women and people who have experienced sexual assault, and kind of like letting them know that people are out there. You know, like you are not alone. And that's why I published it. Like I said, if it had been just about me, about my healing process, then I wouldn't have published it. But I wanted to, I think it's an important work. It's an important feminist work, and I wanted to get it out there. I've had people reach out to me and say, you know, I just finished your book and I feel seen. And I want to let you know that this was important to hear someone else's point of view, to see someone else's point of view, because this is what I've been struggling with. So that kind of makes the writing worthwhile. And yeah, like I hope it gets into more hands. I hope it gets into more men's hands so that they can stand up and be a true ally and tell their buddies who are making rape jokes, like, that's not cool, knock it off. You know, like explain.
Yeah.
Zeus is not a good name for your German Shepherd. It's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Hephaestus. How about Hephaestus? He was a decent dude.
Well, that's the thing. Like, as someone who has read a lot of Greek mythology, like I've spent a lot of time with it. Even in those, like, even in a time where people recognized the power of Zeus, they were not idealizing him in these stories. They recognized the frankly problematic, to say the least, nature of him. And somehow, through this westernized manosphere whatever, they've tried to sanitize that out. And like you even said, they're getting off on the power, but that's also a pretty common idea in sexual assault, that it's not about gratification, it's about power and control. And so you can't separate anything out of those stories. They are all one part of that. So if you're idealizing any part of it, you're idealizing every part of it. Yeah.
Not to take it too much off track, but you one style that I found really striking that you did throughout the book is you did these kind of split poems.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I never quite understand when poets play with the format. It's not that I'm opposed to it. I'm always just curious as to why. But when I encountered these split poems throughout the book, it forced me to sit with the words more. And so I thought that was really fascinating, because like you almost felt like you were decoding something. And so it just had you sitting there, letting it all sink in as you kind of bounced between. And then I read down the columns on the other side to see if there was like something else in there, but you're just sitting with those words for just a little longer. So do you know when you're going to do a split poem, or does it just kind of again come naturally?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't often approach the page and say, I'm going to write this style of poem. It kind of just develops on its own. I do, however, approach form as a writing exercise. Like sometimes I'm like, hey, I want to try I can't think of the form right now. But the one that you're talking about is a contrapuntal. And I actually know that term.
There we go.
Cool. I did not. So that's
and
awesome.
It was I looked at it as a challenge where I'm just kind of trying this form out, see if I can do it. And then if I want to attach a poem that I'm working on to that form, I do it intuitively. Like I've been struggling this with this myself. Like, why do I do certain things that I do? Why did I choose to do a sonnet? Why did I choose to do a contrapuntal? Why did I do this or this? And it just kind of, when it's on the page, usually I do like a free verse, and then I'm like, that it just doesn't feel right. So then I'll start playing with forms and seeing if that speaks to me. But not often do I say it's going to be this form, unless it's just a writing exercise and I want to practice the form. But I can tell you that the contrapuntal is often used to use like different sides of things, like have a different argument, or like, for example, the Artemis poem, the maiden that story is about, that Artemis shoots and like turns into the bear. So like the first portion of that contrapuntal is the myth and what happened, and then the second portion of it is just like the power that Zeus is feeling and why he did what he did, and then like you've got the whole picture. So that, like, that's what I used that form for.
Oh yeah, it's Callisto.
Callisto.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that one was the first one that really struck me, because like you only picked out like singular words to run down the opposite side. And so like you get this: Zeus was prideful in Callisto's conversion from maiden to flicker. And you get almost a second meaning in that entire column there of just like, it was his pride. It was just this sickening pride. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. Well, you'll have to dig up your 12-year-old writings. We need to bring you back on.
I've got to find that.
This was great. So,
and I'll send you some Ludo songs.
Yes,
Love
please
Me
do.
Dead.
Oh my gosh. Love me, cancerous.
I don't think there's any song better than Love Me Dead.
Oh,
okay. Well, Lannie, this has been great. This has been really great. Now, it's my understanding that if fans of our show wanted to experience a My Bad Poetry crossover, or more honestly, just two awesome people who happen to be poets in collaboration, you and Reagan Petrucha are hosting a virtual reading together. Is that next week?
That is on, what did you say? Next Sunday. My wife is interjecting. She's like, I'll be there. It's next Sunday.
good.
At 4:00
Awesome.
Eastern time.
Yeah. Did you know each other before you wrote these works based on Greek myth? Oh, that's fascinating.
No, we met after.
Yeah. Yeah, you even have a Medusa poem in here.
I do. I have five haiku.
For those of you who buy the book, it's on page 47. But yeah, so you and Reagan are doing this live discussion. For those of you hearing this episode within the first week, you can sign up for that if you find them on Twitter. I think links are available there.
July 17th, 4 p.m. Eastern time.
Awesome. Before you leave, here at My Bad Poetry, we end each week with the words of a true poet. So would you be willing to share one of your other poems with us today?
Actually, could I read a very short story?
For sure. Yes.
Yeah,
to plug your
absolutely.
new book. So you have a new book out. Something
do.
Dead and Everything.
Something Dead and Everything.
Of short stories. Yeah. Let's end with a short story.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay, so this is from Something Dead and Everything, which is mainly about grief, different kinds of griefs. So not just, like losing someone, but losing something, and grieving that. And in this very short story, I think what is being lost here is humanity. And that's important to think about in these days. So this is called A Family Debate. I just don't see the issue, Dottie said, propping her bunion feet up on the ottoman. I paid for it. Him, her sister Marcia corrected. You paid for him. Dottie waved an uncaring hand and recrossed her ankles. Whatever. I don't care if Parliament signed it into law, Marcia continued to press. Men aren't things. They're people, like us. Dottie picked up a tall glass of lemonade that had been left to sweat on the stiff back of a blond man. She liked to call it her side table. Dottie sipped and once again recrossed her ankles. The ottoman groaned.
Oh, that is painful. That is painful and beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been really into 100-word stories lately, and that's one of the ones. They're so hard to do, but then when you get one, it's gratifying for sure.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's amazing. All that you packed into there. I mean,
Right.
the whole world is fleshed out, like Parliament and passing a law, and oh man, very cool.
Nice.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting that book in the mail.
It's coming.
Yeah. And you can too, dear listeners, through
ELJ Editions.
ELJ Editions.
Yep.
So you can find it there. You can also find it on Amazon, but preferably through the printer if possible. So
yeah, and actually, if you go to bookshop.org,
yes,
and drop "Good morning to everyone except men who name their dog Zeus" or "Something Dead and Everything," or just my name, both pop up, right? And then you can choose any of your local bookstores or independent bookstores.
Oh, beautiful.
You don't even have to worry about Amazon.
Yes, it's an incredible site. I've used it before. Really nice way of supporting local shops and not having to leave your home. This has been My Bad Poetry.
So go write your own bad poetry.
Perfect.
I like it.
That's good.
Is that not the line?
No,
No,
that
yeah,
is the line. That is the line.
What if I yelled at people to go write your own bad poetry?
However you want to end it, it's truly up to you.
You go now, go write.
Again, we learned it's all about authorial intent. You do you.
Yeah, you do you.
Rhyme or free doesn't matter to me.